Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Now, about 6 years ago, I covered a movie called Star Crash, and that movie, in many ways, was a total ripoff of Star Wars. Well, I think this movie is even more of a ripoff than that. It's The Humanoid from 1979, an Italian science fiction film directed by Aldo Lado under the pseudonym George B. Lewis. So, yeah, looks like they were kind of having fun with the fact that this was a blatant ripoff. And you'll clearly see the similarities throughout this video, but just take a second to look at these cinema lobby cards. This movie actually had an original score composed by the legendary Ennio Morricone and features a few actors from James Bond movies, including Richard Kiel, who's been on this show more than a few times. Now, sometimes, for fun, I like to play devil's advocate, like I did at the beginning of my Star Crash review, because the director said that the movie's design and script were developed before Star Wars came out. So I thought it would be fun to try and present the argument that it wasn't a ripoff of Star Wars, but this movie seems pretty upfront about it. So even though there's no way that this movie is better than Star Wars, I'm going to argue that it is, and let you decide for yourselves, because, you know, what the hell, why not? So here we go, folks. I'm going to make the argument as to why The Humanoid is better than Star Wars. Not more successful, not more beloved, better. Artistically, spiritually, emotionally, chiropractically. I mean, sure, are some of the opening shots exactly the same as Star Wars? Yes. But there are many differences that you can't deny. First of all, Star Wars opens with a Graal explaining the entire political situation of the galaxy. Already a red flag. That's the movie saying, okay, listen, this is going to get confusing real fast, but don't panic, we've prepared notes. So please read this homework assignment before the lasers start. The Humanoid opens with the narration briefly explaining things because it has full confidence that there's going to be a ton of stuff throughout this movie that you're not going to understand, so screw it. That is art. Now let's take a second to compare the costumes in these movies. Star Wars has costumes that are practical. You know, robes, boots, belts. The Humanoid costumes look like the wardrobe department lost a bet, or won a bet, depending on who you ask. Shiny outfits, skin-tight fabrics, villains dressed like futuristic nightclub owners. The movie makes no apologies. It is incredibly confident in how weird it is. There's a woman in The Humanoid whose neckline alone has more character development than most of the Rebel Alliance. Lord Graal's outfit is definitely different than Darth Vader's. This is like the BDSM version, which some would argue is the better version of anything. Now, you may be looking at this helmet thinking that it serves no practical purpose. I mean, Darth Vader's helmet and suit were necessary so that he could survive. But with this, I have no idea why his helmet is like this. It's like some kind of dietary chastity mask. You know, just makes it incredibly difficult to eat or drink anything. Look, Darth Vader is scary, sure. He chokes people from a distance, has a badass red lightsaber, but he also has limitations. He has to keep his suit on or else he'll die. Lord Graal, on the other hand, has no limitations. If he took this mask off, nothing would happen, I think. He does whatever the hell he wants. He runs an evil empire. At one point, he shoots lasers from his hands. Does his helmet make sense? Again, no, but that's not the point. The point is, you never know what to expect from him. You know, just look at him. He's like a walking creative disagreement happening on screen. Alright, so what's going on in this movie? Well, it takes place in the future where Earth has been renamed Metropolis. And I just want to stop for a second and recognize what a massive achievement that is. I mean, since the dawn of mankind, humans have been fighting and arguing with each other over everything. But somehow, some way in the future, everybody at one point got together and agreed to name the planet Large City. Anyways, Metropolis is quite the desert utopia led by some guy named the Great Brother, who is the brother of Lord Graal, and Graal hates him. And I don't really blame Graal, to be honest. I mean, this guy named himself the Great Brother. It's kind of a slap in the face to his sibling. Makes Graal look like a huge piece of crap. which he is, but still, we don't know if he was a piece of crap before the Great Brother named himself the Great Brother. Maybe he was really nice back then. And this was the thing that, turned him into a jerk. So in that sense, the Great Brother could actually be responsible for this whole thing. And what's Graal supposed to do? Name himself the Greater Brother? That just looks petty. It's much better to just try and destroy the planet instead. Now you may be thinking, great, this movie features a desert planet too? Well, yeah, I mean, what's more exciting than the desert? And just look at how visually dazzling this place is, filled to the brim with life and technology. It's the pinnacle of civilization. No wonder everybody wanted to call it Metropolis. Graal is working with this mad scientist named Dr. Kraspin, and he's kind of a jerk too. And they want to create an army of super soldiers known as humanoids, but first they need this element called Kapitron, which is being held on Metropolis. So they just show up. I guess the security on Metropolis has no way of telling if a hostile spaceship is landing. And what do you expect? I mean, the guys at this lookout tower can only see so far. Anyways, the squad of dark helmets have very strict orders. They gotta go in and kill everybody, but especially a certain doctor. And her name is Barbara Gibson. Now, you may be sitting there thinking, well, that's not a very futuristic sounding name. Well, how do you know? I imagine at some point, people in the future ran out of new names to come up with, so they just started, back at the beginning of the cycle. And at this point, they're at Barbara. I mean, I think that makes sense. Plus, I don't see anybody giving Star Wars any crap about their unfuturistic sounding names, like Luke and Owen and Ben. Anyways, before the raid, Barbara got a call from some kid named Tom Tom, who has powers and psychic premonitions, and he told her to get the hell out of there immediately. So she did, leaving all of her co-workers behind, which you might think was kind of a shitty thing to do, but to me it's obvious that she was trying not to create a panic, because if everybody starts panicking and trying to get out of there at the same time, someone might get hurt. And also, when Tom Tom tells her to leave, he then says something in a different language, as if he's casting a spell on her. So if you're gonna blame anybody, blame this kid. He could have evacuated this whole place with his space mind tricks, but no, he didn't want to take the time. So thanks a lot, Tom Tom. Now everyone else is dead. Brutally murdered. Even this guy. And he looks like he was just going for a nice stroll. Anyways, they make it inside of a room featuring a variety of different waste bins, and they're like, here it is. This one has the Kapitron. So they take it back to Graal, and they're like, yeah, we got the Kapitron and killed everybody except the one person that you specifically wanted dead. So yeah, sorry, she got away somehow. And you're probably thinking, oh, this guy is totally dead. In Star Wars, Vader wouldn't hesitate to kill anyone who disappointed him. Well, not in this movie.
You're stripped of your privileges for 100 days.
Yeah, that's right. This guy is basically grounded now, which is much smarter than killing him. I mean, just think about it. Vader loves killing everybody, left, right, and center. Well, eventually, you're gonna run out of people to kill. And most importantly, nobody learns anything. This way, this guy has to walk around embarrassed for 100 days, thinking about how he screwed up. You bet your ass he's gonna make sure that it never happens again. Meanwhile, in the bustling metropolis of Metropolis, they are discussing what happened in a room where sitting comfortably is frowned upon. And they're like, this means war! Space war! But first we have to find Dr. Kraspin. He's the one behind all this. So yeah, in Star Wars, the Empire has the Death Star, but in this movie, the bad guys have a secret underground base on another desert planet. Well, whatever. This is so much better than the Death Star. The Death Star took a ton of time and money to build, and then in the end, what? A small little design flaw led to the whole thing blowing up. This is an underground base, and it's filled with leather and rivets and epic turtlenecks. So it's much sexier. So Graal and Kraspin are in cahoots with Lady Agatha, She's the queen of planet Noxon, and she's got a case of helmet hair that has the entire galaxy paralyzed with fear. She may talk big about ruling the universe by Graal's side, but her first priority is staying young and sexy forever. And to help her do that, Kraspin has been providing her with a serum to maintain her youth. And how does he get the serum? Well, by putting women in this Iron Maiden full of needles that suck the life juice out of them. This is the Botox of the future, folks. Nobody said it would be fun. See, Star Wars wanted you to think that one needle being held by a robot was intimidating. Well, how about 100 closing in on you all at once? I'd take my chances with the needle ball, thank you very much. Let's talk heroes. In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is a young man who complains about chores and dreams of leaving home. And that's relatable, I get it. But the hero of the Humanoid is Richard Kiel. 7 feet tall and built like a refrigerator that survived the Cold War. There is no training montage. There is no self-doubt arc. The character development is, this man exists, deal with it. So Richard Kiel plays Golob, and his character is, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really sure what his job is, but he definitely flies a spaceship. He kind of looks like a combination of Han Solo and Obi-Wan Kenobi, mixed with some Ralph McQuarrie concept drawings. He also has a sidekick, Kip, which is like a combination of R2-D2 and a dog. It's even got ears and an antenna for a tail. And yeah, Star Wars obviously had robots, but what's better than robots? Dog robots. I don't think anybody can argue with that. Anyway, somehow Kraspin is able to hack into his ship's webcam, and he's like, he's perfect for my experiment. So he uses some kind of tractor beam to crash the ship into a lake. So Kraspin takes one of the Kapitron Rice Krispies and puts it in a warhead and launches it at Golob. And now he emerges as a humanoid. He's completely different. He's angry, and I guess the Kapitron gave him a clean shave. He's basically like a space version of Ega now. And he's also indestructible. Lasers just bounce right off of him. So they give him the gas and then attach a sensor to his head so that they can control him. And then they just drop him off outside of Metropolis. Like, okay, here, go cause some shit. And not only does he cause a bunch of shit, but he steals a speeder too. Okay, so now we have Nick, and Nick goes up to Great Brother, and he's like, okay, so I've been playing a bunch of Resident Evil lately, and I have an idea of how to kill this guy. You know that random room we have with the super powerful hydraulic press? Well, all you have to do is lure this guy into the room, and then quickly leave, and we'll seal the doors on him before he can leave, and crush him to death. And why is this better than the trash compactor scene from Star Wars? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, it's much cleaner. And secondly, this guy stops the super space hydraulic press all by himself. Much cooler than being saved by a couple of robots. The characters in Star Wars needed help. Richard Kiel doesn't need any help, ever. The movie basically rearranges itself around him out of respect. Anyways, Golob starts going after Barbara, and TomTom just stands there while he chases her around the room, destroying everything in his path. And I mean, geez, TomTom, I know you didn't have to pay for any of these furnishings, but at least act like you care. I mean, that whole glass wall needs to be replaced now. May not seem like a big deal to you right now, but one day you might have a house and you're gonna have to replace some windows. Then you'll see. Then you'll care. So TomTom uses his TomTom mind tricks to stop Golob and remove the brain sensor so that he's a good guy again. Meanwhile, Barbara escapes to the desert of Metropolis, where she runs into some bad guys because why not? But she's saved by TomTom when he summons some kind of phantom warriors. And I'm sorry, but I don't ever recall Star Wars having ghost archers who shoot laser arrows. That alone is enough to end this debate right here and now. This is cool as shit. Anyways, the bad guys capture Barbara at one point, and this scene is pretty funny. She just leaves the room, and then suddenly they're like, hey, what was that noise? Ah, crap, I guess they took her. And you're gonna see some scenes in this movie that are very similar to Star Wars, yes. Like, they got the whole turret sequence, which I'm not gonna argue is better, but it's pretty good. And they also have the, I don't know, war room, where everybody is watching a screen on a table. And yes, you could argue that this screen is pointless. I mean, it doesn't really show anything, and we never see it again at any point in the movie. and at least the Star Wars screen showed the position of the Death Star in relation to the Rebel base. Well, look, this all takes place in the future. There's probably a wealth of information here that we can't even decipher because we don't know how to interpret it. Now look at this thing. This thing is moving, so that's got to mean something. Anyways, they got to find a way inside the base so that they can rescue Barbara. And their big plan is to have Kip distract the guards while they sneak inside and then close the doors on the guards so that they can't get back in. I guess that one entrance and those 2 guards are the extent of the security for this entire evil base. Again, the Death Star was loaded with security. This evil base, yeah, doesn't have that much. But they're trying to save money so that they can spend it on these amazing costumes. Look at it. Like, there's got to be something special going on with this one. Anyways, there's a bunch of sneaking around and hiding and fighting and shooting. It's all so incredibly exciting that I can't show it all. So at one point, Nick comes face to face with Graal, and he knows it's Graal because of the logo on his chest or something. And this is where Graal turns on his laser hands, but for some reason can't hit Nick at all. But after a while, he has him cornered. I guess this is the end for Nick. Except Golob shows up and gives him a hug, and this makes Graal completely disintegrate. In Star Wars, this happens during a lightsaber fight, which is cool, but in the Humanoid, we get to see someone get bear hugged into nothing. And how many times have you seen that?
He's vanished.
He incarnated evil, and evil will never disappear from the universe. We can only continue to fight it.
Oh, really? Okay, well, thanks, Tips. Yeah, hey, you know, it would have been nice if you would have showed up like 5 minutes ago with those guys who shoot the laser arrows. Yeah, that would have really helped out. But no, instead I almost get killed, and Golob had to squeeze that guy to death, and now you show up like, well, you know, you can't really defeat evil. Well, great, thanks. Why would you even say that? And, oh, okay, yeah, no, go ahead, bye. Anyways, there's one thing left to do. Golob takes the Kapitron and jumps into the water because that should destroy it, and it does. There's a huge explosion, and after he emerges with his hair and his beard back. And see, that right there is the ultimate happy ending. A man loses his hair and then gets it all back in the end. It's like the ultimate fantasy ending for a lot of men out there. And yeah, there's something else about Tom leaving on a giant crystal swan boat, but who cares? This is the real ending. I mean, just ask any guy suffering from male pattern baldness which they would rather have, a medal and a standing ovation or a full head of hair. I'm telling you right now, it's not even going to be close. So there you have it. In the end, I think I put forth a pretty compelling argument. Surprised myself even. So yeah, Star Wars is a classic, but the Humanoid, that's cinema with nerve. That's cinema with confusion. That's cinema that looks you straight in the eye and says, we spent $7 million and not one of us regrets it. I want to thank all of my supporters on Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, and my YouTube channel members. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. But that's pretty much it for this one, and I'll see you all next time. And yes, Star Wars changed cinema forever, but the Humanoid changed expectations. Because when you're watching it, you don't ask, is this good? You ask, is this happening on purpose? And that's a higher level of engagement. Outtakes.